Here's the thing, I'm not as happy as you might think I am. It's easy to look at my Instagram feed, at my Facebook profile, or my new YouTube channel and think, wow, she's living her dream life. Or, wow, that's my dream life. It's easy to look at me and see me as a source of inspiration. It's easy to view me as a woman who never gave up on chasing her happiness despite the numerous odds thrown against her. It's easy to look at me and see vlogger promoting power, positivity, endless possibilities. But a lot of people tend to forget that this trip that I'm doing, this walking and hitchhiking adventure, is much like any other traditional lifestyle. It's far from perfect, and there's a lot of challenges along the way. And that's what you don't see on my social media. But as someone who values authenticity and truth-telling, I believe that I'm ready to share with you what it's really like out here for me. And it's going to be raw, unapologetic. But here it is. This is the truth about my travels.
Strange world we live in. It's all we want is loving. Searching for things unspoken. We can't hold this talking.
It's a strange world we live in. All we want is loving.
I have to admit that I, too, romanticized the idea of travel. The minute I left home and hit the road, I thought travel would be all smiles. But it turns out there's so much more to travel than meets the eye.
No water, Coco.
I've been traveling nonstop for nearly 4 years now due to a variety of reasons. Mainly because I'm on a journey to walk and hitchhike the world no matter the odds. My initial goal was to cross from Asia to Europe to Africa, and I thought that it would be attainable within the span of 1 to 2 years. But that wasn't the case. I was delayed twice during my trip. I had to undergo an ovarian cyst surgery that left me bedridden for half a year. Then came COVID-19, which continues to bar me from finishing my initial route and fulfilling my dreams. I have to admit, being stuck for more than a year now has been one of the worst things that the universe has ever thrown at me.
You see, I built this life with travel at the core, and it was taken away from me by a global pandemic. And I know it's not the worst thing in the world. I have a roof above my head. I have an amazing volunteer job that I firmly believe in. I have amazing kids that I teach. I have friends. I have family. Most of all, I have my health. I'm currently COVID-free, and I'm happy here. But I can't deny that this crisis has taken away my possibility to travel, my purpose. And because of that, I'm left aimless. I'm without direction. And it's not easy at all, because I was coming from a life of freedom, and I'm now forced to live a life of stagnancy, of routine, which has got me asking myself, am I living a lie? Shouldn't I be out there trying to keep this dream alive?
Just when it couldn't get any more devastating, I'm stuck in this situation too because of my passport and nationality. Without coronavirus, there's only a handful of countries I can go to visa-free, and the majority of these countries are either far from where I am now or too expensive to fly to during these times. And even if I were to go, I'd be breaking the walking and hitchhiking trip I've committed to. It makes me even more frustrated when I see people who are able to travel during this period, citizens of high-income nations or countries with good COVID responses, influencers on special visas, vaccinated vacationists, jet-setters with enough dough to do PCR tests every week or splurge on these expensive flight tickets, people with passports that allow them to just cross borders to neighboring countries with relaxed restrictions, remote workers who are not considered cheap labor and can easily secure these growingly popular digital nomad visas elsewhere.
So please, don't tell me that stress and other mental health issues have nothing to do with privilege, because they do. As a traveler from a third world country, I know that I will be among those who are last in line to be able to travel again because of our country's poor response to COVID. I know that as a volunteer here in Ukraine, another not so privileged country, I know that the vaccines will be allotted for those who are essential workers, frontliners, people at high risk. I can't afford to blow all of my savings, which are not much, to be honest, on numerous PCR tests or flight tickets just to get anywhere I want to go. And I'm not only thinking of myself, I'm the only person with a remote job in my family. What if there's an emergency? I can't afford all of these things because for such a long time I was treated as cheap labor. Clients paid me way below my market value because I came from a country that paid workers so cheaply, and it was alright with them. Despite my skills, despite my educational background, despite my portfolio, despite these opportunities to work abroad or volunteer abroad, and despite my 5-year experience in writing and journalism, they still paid me below my rates. And these are not just foreign clients. These are Filipino companies as well. The horror of it all. And you know what has caused me this? I can't hit the minimum income required for these prestigious digital nomad visas that could have secured my place here on the road, that couldn't have led me trapped or transitioning into another kind of lifestyle, which has really been stressful for me. And like I always say, travel, it's not a bubble. It's a mirror of the inequalities of what we have and what we don't have. You can't separate it from real life. So you see, everything is tied to privilege at one point or another. It might not have been directly caused by it, but it's still tethered to it. But enough about privilege. I am going to discuss that on a different video. I am here to tell you more truths about being a long-term traveler.
Now, imagine you're standing on top of the world, looking over a gorgeous view, and finding out that you're alone, with nobody to share this beautiful, precious moment with. Now, I know I'm not truly alone. I connect with so many people from different walks of life. I am extremely grateful to everyone who has been part of this dream to weave a society of stories. But at the end of the day, when I finally decide to leave their homes, their vehicles, their countries, and even their hearts, I find myself lifting my thumb off the side of the road or going to bed dreaming of the next adventure, alone.
Each time I leave a home and a family, I am an orphan all over again. And I know that long-term travel is not for everyone. It demands a huge sacrifice. Leaving your loved ones behind, leaving your hometown behind, dropping everything you've ever known, saying goodbye to a 9-to-5 job for some odd ones and remote work, everyday risks to health and safety, always facing uncertainty, an extent of discomfort, and not always having a roof above your head or a place to go. But I faced the fact that I will be on this path alone for a very long time. And it takes guts to be able to accept that. The thing is, I am still no stranger to loneliness.
A student of mine called me a strong girl, not because of this hitchhiking and walking journey that I'm in, but because on this path that I'm in, I have nobody but myself. When a bus driver tried to hit me on the thigh roadside, when I survived an attempted rape and a near-death experience, when I succumbed to depression because of too much work and stagnancy, when my grandma died, and when I lost my passport, I mostly had to face all of this by myself.
There are times when it's the exact opposite, where I'm just surrounded by so many people, both online and offline, especially offline, and I can't take a break from myself. I can't be with myself, and I can't have breaks or mental health days to be able to just be alone, filter my thoughts, and find out where all these stress and where all these problems are coming from. There's just sometimes so much noise in this kind of life that I wish I could drown them out, but I can't. Where even offline, I have to pretend I'm okay and put on a smile. And as someone who's trying to grow her social media, there's just so much pressure to succeed. There's just so much pressure to be seen and heard and to stand out from all these other travelers. And I constantly compare myself to those who have made it. And when I see the views I get, the likes I get, or the comments I get from my videos, from my photos, from the content that I spend and I put all of my heart and energy to, and I see that they're just a few, I feel so bad, and I constantly doubt myself and ask myself, am I worthy enough to be here? Do people really listen to what I have to say? Is this still worth it at all, this trip? And there are a lot of times where in social media I have to pretend that everything is okay, but deep inside I'm struggling to get out of my bed. I don't want to go to work because I'm too stressed. I just want this pandemic to end, or I'm just tired from moving from point A to point B, or I miss my home and I miss having familiar faces, familiar sights, familiar things. I can't tell people all the time about what's going on inside my head, especially these negative thoughts. And it's because online I'm seen as a voice of positivity, source of inspiration, and it's not very inspiring to be sharing all these negative things. But to hell with that, I think that even content creators are people, and as much as possible we should be truthful and authentic, and that's why I'm here. So I'm telling my story to you. I'm telling you that it's okay to not be okay. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to wear a mask like I did, and you don't have to run away. Because even though you're seen as a ray of light, sometimes the moon eclipses the sun, and it can be total darkness, and after a while you'll still shine, and the people will still look for the sun.
So this is it. Some truths about my life on the road. A life filled with beautiful hellos, heartbreaking goodbyes. A life of happiness and human connections. A life of big risks and uncertainties that you sometimes have to face alone, along with the fleeting idea of permanence. And the reality of maybe having to walk alone for a very long time.
For a life so beautiful, so eye-opening, and just magnificent, sometimes the cost is too much. It's so difficult to be out here on my own. But I believe in this dream. I have never fought for anything in my life other than this. I've never fought this hard. As a good friend told me for the past few days, you're putting everything on the line to live this kind of life. I know I am. And in the end, I hope it's worth it.